It's past midnight in December 1944. The sky over the Philippines is completely black. No moon, no stars. Below, 20,000 American soldiers sleep in tents, unaware that Japanese bombers are already on the way. Only one aircraft stands between them and disaster. Before this story unfolds, hit like. It tells YouTube this history still matters. ND, subscribe to World War II Realities, where we uncover the most intense forgotten moments of World War II. Because tonight, one pilot will fight an entire air raid alone, in total darkness. At 23:40, on December 29th, 1944, the island of Morotai lay under complete darkness. No moon, no stars, only thick clouds swallowing the sky. Inside the cramped cockpit of a P-61 Black Widow, Major Carroll C. Smith sat motionless, his gloved hands resting lightly on the controls. The aircraft vibrated quietly beneath him, engines idling ready. Smith was 26 years old. He had flown 43 combat missions, and he already had 4 confirmed aerial victories. But nothing in his career compared to what was coming tonight. Behind him, separated by metal bulkheads and instruments, Lieutenant Philip Porter leaned forward, eyes fixed on a dim green-tinted radar screen. The soft glow illuminated his face as his fingers adjusted the dials with practiced precision. Then he spoke. Contact. Smith didn't move. Speed 180 knots, Porter continued, heading south. Smith exhaled slowly. They both knew exactly what that meant. 2 weeks of relentless attacks. For 14 consecutive nights, Japanese aircraft had attacked Morotai without pause. Every night, sometimes twice, sometimes more. In just 14 days, American forces recorded 334 air raid alerts. Engineers slept beside bulldozers. Pilots slept in flight gear. Anti-aircraft crews lived at their guns. The reason Morotai mattered was simple. This island was becoming the launch platform for the Lingayen Gulf invasion, the operation that would return American forces to the Philippines in force. Here, engineers were racing against time to carve airfields out of jungle and coral. If those airfields became operational, American fighters could provide continuous air cover over the invasion beaches. The Japanese understood this perfectly, so they tried to stop it. Every night they sent aircraft. Conventional bombers, modified bombers packed with explosives, aircraft whose crews knew they might not return. Anything that could fly and carry bombs was sent toward Morotai. And tonight 12 bombers were inbound, a thin line of defense. Smith belonged to the 418th Night Fighter Squadron. They had arrived on Morotai just 3 days earlier. There were no hardened shelters, no established radar network, no layered defense, just a handful of aircraft, and the men flying them. If the bombers got through, they would hit fuel dumps, ammunition stockpiles, runway construction zones, tents filled with sleeping soldiers. Every bomber meant dead engineers. Every destroyed runway meant delays. Every delay meant more casualties during the invasion. Smith understood the stakes. Tonight, there would be no margin for failure. The Black Widow. Smith wasn't flying a conventional fighter. The P-61 Black Widow was something entirely new. It was the first American aircraft ever designed specifically for night combat. Twin engines, a 66-foot wingspan, a crew of 3, pilot, radar operator, and gunner. 4 20mm cannons were mounted in the belly, capable of tearing through any bomber with seconds of fire. But the Black Widow's true power was hidden. In the nose sat the SCR-720 radar, technology so advanced the Japanese didn't even know it existed. They believed darkness made them invisible. They believed night protected them. They were wrong. The unseen hunt. On Porter's radar screen, glowing blips moved steadily south. Enemy aircraft, flying blind. No tail warning radar. No idea they were already being tracked. Porter guided Smith using calm, precise commands. Left 3 degrees, hold altitude, range closing. Smith couldn't see a single thing outside the canopy. No horizon, no clouds, just endless black. But he trusted Porter completely. They had trained for this for 18 months, learning to fight without sight, without visual reference, relying entirely on radar, instruments, and discipline. Still, the problem remained. One P-61, 12 bombers. Smith didn't have enough fuel or time to stop them all. Even destroying 3 or 4 wouldn't be enough. The mathematics were unforgiving. First intercept. At 23:57, Smith closed in on the first target, a Mitsubishi G4M Betty bomber. The Betty was fast and long-ranged, but fatally flawed. It had no self-sealing fuel tanks. One good burst was enough. Smith eased the Black Widow into position. He waited. Then he fired. The night exploded into orange flame. The bomber disintegrated, burning fuel igniting instantly as it spiraled downward into the ocean. 1 down, 11 remained, an impossible rhythm. There was no celebration, no relief, only urgency. Over the next 55 minutes, Smith and Porter repeated the impossible. They chased faint radar returns across miles of black sky. Each intercept required flawless timing. Each attack burned irreplaceable fuel. One mistake, one overshoot, one missed shot, and a bomber would get through. A second Betty fell. A third aircraft was destroyed despite evasive maneuvers. A fourth went down just miles from the airfield. By 0:35, 4 bombers were gone. Smith glanced at his instruments. Fuel, 21%, dangerously low. A new threat appears. Then Porter's voice returned. New contact. Smith tensed. This one was different. Not a bomber. A Nakajima Ki-84 Frank, one of Japan's best fighters. Faster, more agile, lethal in daylight. But this wasn't daylight, and the Frank pilot had no radar. Smith approached silently. At 0:46, the night erupted again. The fighter went down in flames. 5 aircraft destroyed. Smith now had barely enough fuel to survive. The darkest moment. As Smith turned back toward McGuire Field, the unthinkable happened. The runway lights went out. Total darkness. Fuel nearly gone. No second chance. Smith landed blind, guided only by instruments and nerve. The Black Widow touched down with minutes of fuel remaining. Smith climbed out of the cockpit shaking, not from fear but from exhaustion. He had saved thousands of lives, and the night wasn't over. Less than 14 hours after landing with nearly empty fuel tanks, Major Carroll C. Smith climbed back into the same P-61 Black Widow on the afternoon of December 30th, 1944. His body still heavy from exhaustion, but his mind sharp, because Japanese reconnaissance aircraft had been reported probing Morotai's defenses, and these were faster, smaller, more dangerous targets than the bombers he had hunted the night before. Aircraft designed to spot American positions and guide future attacks. And as Smith and radar operator Lieutenant Philip Porter lifted off once again, the Black Widow fully refueled and rearmed, Porter's radar soon detected a high-speed contact at altitude, a Nakajima Ki-84 Frank, one of the most advanced fighters Japan possessed, capable of outrunning the P-61 in level flight and deadly in daylight combat. But Smith held the advantage of height and surprise, climbing until he was above the target and then diving out of the sunless sky, using gravity to push the Black Widow to nearly 390 miles per hour, faster than the Frank could escape. And at the perfect moment, Smith fired a short, controlled burst that tore through the fighter's engine, sending it spiraling into the ocean below, marking his 7th confirmed kill in less than 24 hours, a record no other American night fighter pilot would ever match. And while the achievement was quietly recorded in mission logs and intelligence summaries, the real impact was felt on the ground, where Morotai's airfields continued operating without interruption, engineers working through the night, under the protection Smith had provided, allowing American fighters to deploy in time to cover the Lingayen Gulf landings on January 9, 1945, an invasion that succeeded in part because Japanese bombers had failed to destroy the runways when it mattered most. And although the 418th Night Fighter Squadron would go on to score 18 total victories during the war, Smith 7 accounted for nearly 40% of the unit's entire combat record, a staggering figure that underscored how extraordinary those 2 days had been, Yet, despite becoming the highest-scoring American night fighter ace of World War II, Smith never sought fame, never capitalized on his achievements, and never told his story publicly, returning home in 1946 to live a quiet civilian life while the P-61 Black Widow itself faded into obscurity. Most of the aircraft scrapped after the war, their nose art, kill markings, and combat histories erased by time, leaving behind only fragments, radar logs, after-action reports, and scattered eyewitness accounts, documenting a night when invisible enemies were hunted in total darkness, when technology, training, and trust between two men in a cockpit turned the tide of an entire operation, and when one pilot, guided by glowing blips on a radar screen, proved that even in the deepest night of war, unseen courage could shape history without ever asking to be remembered. Major Carroll C. Smith never sought fame. He never wrote memoirs. His aircraft was scrapped. His name faded into archives. But on one night in December 1944, one man, one radar, and one aircraft changed the course of a major invasion, because the bombers never reached Morotai. And thousands of soldiers lived to fight another day. A thank you for watching World War II Realities. If this story meant something to you, please hit like. It helps YouTube share these forgotten histories with the world. Subscribe for more real, documented World War II stories that deserve to be remembered. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. And if someone in your family served, Ace Stories survive because you're here, Thank you for keeping history alive,